Okay, we're back. I had to go fill up my coffee. Here we go.
For what happened to happen. When that happens is, I'm always told, but because I'm not a gun person, I don't own a gun. They've always told me, they asked me to sit.
I don't own a gun. I'm not a gun person. Really? Okay, that's where he lost me. Now I don't trust him and I don't like him at all. Rick, that's not fair. You should. Whatever. I gotta hear that again. Really?
I'm always told, but because I'm not a gun person, I don't own a gun.
He knows more about a gun than the freaking armor expert that he hired, that he said did a great job, that resulted in someone dying on his set with an unloaded gun. Yeah, okay.
They've always told me, they asked me to simulate the recoil. When I shoot the Colt, which is a big gun, 45 caliber bullet, they always teach me when we should be go action. I go, get back here, boom, and they make me take my hand and go boom and have the kick, because there's no kick in a flash round.
Okay.
And when this happened, I don't recall there being any kick either. That's important.
Okay.
He may not recall it, but it kicked. If a projectile went out, the force used to expel that round caused an equal force backwards. There was a recoil. Because he wasn't expecting it, and it took him as such a surprise, and he was so shocked, he doesn't remember the recoil. There was a recoil, people.
Are you, I know you said you don't own a gun, but are you experienced with shooting guns?
Only as much as actors have to be experienced.
Okay, which is normally not really.
Well, I mean, like, if you do a movie, safety with weapons is primary. You go off with people. You go off with armaments people to ranges. I've gone to ranges in Arizona where we shot a lot of guns in a movie many years ago, and you go to a range and you shoot for a few hours, and they teach you how to shoot shotguns, Walther, different, little small guns, James Bond guns, big guns, Uzis, machine guns, whatever you're using, they make you go and rehearse for hours, like a whole day.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, they're very safety conscious, as they have been here. They've been very safety conscious here throughout. That's what puzzles me.
This would be a great chance to bring up the 2 other episodes where rounds were fired on the set previously before this accident happened.
We didn't have anything.
Yeah, and I guess that's more like the question that I'm trying to get at is, do you think someone would deliberately do this?
I can't imagine who would.
Okay.
Now, people have said, that 6 people got fired from the crew yesterday.
He brought it up. They didn't bring it up. Man, I'm telling you, it's a good thing he's volunteering information, or this interview would have been done 20 minutes ago. Thanks for coming in, Alex. It was really nice seeing you.
Because they said that the union, I don't want to get into a long diatribe about this, but the union, the International Association of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE is their name. IATSE is the union that controls all the actors. The Directors Guild controls the director, the Screen Actors Guild, but all of the crew are controlled by a contract in which those people voted to go on strike against the major studios, the major networks, the major streaming services, but not the independent film community. In fact, the IATSE rep for the New Mexico contract, because every state has different contracts, was instructed by his bosses in LA, said, don't go on strike. The strike is against the majors, not against the indie people. And in the indie films, there's 6 different tiers, I believe, in terms of the contract, how much they're paid.
Okay.
A bunch of people on the set walked off anyway, even though they were told not to strike.
So a couple seconds ago, he said they were fired. Now he's saying they walked off and went on strike. Which one is it? Will these 2 idiots ask that question? I doubt it, but we'll see.
They struck and they left.
And that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. That was their last day. And the question becomes, somebody said, would one of them do? I don't really know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Well, and I was, because that was mentioned to me, is that it sounded like it was most of the camera crew that walked off set yesterday and quit, and maybe they got fired because they walked off.
So she's going along with his narrative. It sounds like they quit or they got fired, or I don't know. Why don't you ask him? Were they fired or did they quit? He's the director. Who hired them? Who fires them?
So the other thing is that the 2 major people, like you said, the director, those are the ones who got hurt. So with the camera crew and them quitting, and then your director getting injured, as well as Halyna, you don't think there's anybody that had any anger towards them or anything that would want to...
I don't know the details. I know that one guy, whose name I'm forgetting, he was a very heavy-set guy.
Okay.
He was and lovely to me. And he walked up to me and he said, "Thank you for the things you posted on social media in support of the IATSE strike." And he said, "I'd like to talk to you privately," because he said, "because I've got some of my guys sleeping in their car."
Mm-hmm.
Many of the crew here, because it's shooting in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, or Albuquerque-based, they live there. So the drive time, it's kind of common knowledge in the business that the unions in New Mexico signed very bad deals in order to attract movie shooting here. They wanted to grow the crew base here. So they signed a deal that wasn't a good deal, and that gave them a 60-mile commute radius. So that means if you live within 60 miles of the set,
Mm-hmm.
you come to work and you don't get paid any, you have to drive home, they don't hotel you. They don't know in New York it's 30 miles, and they have to put you up in a hotel and give you gas money, and there's a whole other complicated contract in the more expensive markets. Here, this guy would tell me, he turned to me and goes, "My guys are sleeping in their car." Now, I went to the AD and the producers and I asked them, "What's up with that?" He said, "They knew what the contract was. We signed the IATSE contract in New Mexico." And then in the middle of shooting, they decided they wanted to rewrite their deal. They said, "Put us up in hotels." Now, if you put the camera crew up in
This girl would never have a chair that swings in my interview. Put her in a damn solid chair to where she can't do that shit.
a hotel, all the other crafts are going to ask you to put them in a hotel. We don't have the budget for that. That could be $75,000, $80,000. You know what I mean?
Who is that man?
Who?
The one you said that came
I forget. Like I said, I forget his name.
Okay.
But anybody there can tell you who the big heavyset guy was, who was on the crew. They quit yesterday. He didn't come to work today.
Okay.
But my point is that
Did he quit, or did he get fired, or did he go on strike? We're still using these terms that nobody wants to clarify.
if I'm standing there in a rehearsal, I'm thinking to myself, could someone actually believe that in a rehearsal I would actually aim the gun and hit those two people? That's far-fetched. Or do they want just somebody to get hit? Or, I keep telling myself, more like...
I don't think that this gun and this live round got there because they wanted somebody to die. I think they wanted to make it seem like you hired non-union people, and as soon as we left, there was a gunfire that went off. They didn't expect somebody to die. Somebody put that round there. I just don't think it was an accident. But I don't know. I can't get when he was shooting Tuesday. Was it live rounds or was it dummy rounds or flash rounds? What does he mean by shooting? Did he go to the range? Has anybody shot live rounds in any of those guns? How do we know those guns even fired? Did anybody test fire them? Where did we get those guns? Who owns the guns? We don't know any of that. And I watched a complete interview of the armor, and now I'm watching him, the director, the two people that would know all those answers, and I got two idiots here that don't ask any questions.
Was it an accident? It was a large quarter load makes noise, but it's like kind of a puff compared. But a half load could shoot a projectile if something was stuck in the barrel. And like I said, the thing that is, I think, going to answer all your questions is, what's in Joel's shoulder? Mm-hmm. Is it a rock or is it a bullet?
I could actually show that to you.
What?
What was in his shoulder? We did
they take it out?
So you being on set for so many years, like you said, have you ever seen? You said you've never seen anything come out before.
I've never seen a projectile come out. No.
Right.
No.
But do you know what the bullets look like?
Would it have looked something like this if anything did ever come out of something?
Okay. No. Okay.
So let's backtrack a little bit.
Let him talk! Shut up! He's about to say something, and you interrupt him! You freaking idiot!
Oh, that's a bullet. That's a bullet.
He knows it's a bullet. How do you know it's a bullet? You said you weren't a gun guy. What makes you say that's a bullet? Do you know what rifling is? Do you know what styration? Do you know what a bullet looks like after it was fired? How do you know? Well, one time when we shot a machine gun on one thing, we went down there and picked up some old bullets. Great. Now I know you know what a bullet looks like. Now I know when you say this is a bullet that you're basing that on some sort of prior experience. That's what interviewers are supposed to do. These two idiots are freaking busy, whatever.
Right. As I suspected, somebody put a live round in the gun. If that's a bullet that was pulled out of his shoulder, then someone loaded a live round.
Alex is the smartest guy in this room, and I don't like him. I think he's a freaking idiot. And he's still the smartest guy in the room.
Down into the gun I was holding.
So now, let me ask you, did you see the rounds that were in the gun?
No.
Have you seen, throughout the whole time on set, have you seen what they look like?
I've watched her load and reload the gun many times, many times.
Have you seen the bullets and stuff?
Well, meaning...
Well, that's what's reloading. I mean, why don't you ask him, when you say you've watched her reload, do you actually watch her pull the bullet off the cart and put it into the gun? That's how you lock people down. You don't lean back in your chair spinning, flipping your hair, and just, what was your flight schedule for the last week?
Yes, meaning you see sometimes the head is the casing, and the head is pinched. It almost looks like a dumpling. It's closed at the top. There is no piece. And you put the...
He's explaining a blank round that's crimped.
Cosmetic round in when you know you're going to see.
His cosmetic rounds are the dummy rounds that just look like a real bullet for the camera. Make sure we got the terms together. They should be verifying this on camera to make sure we're talking about the same thing. And later, we can't change the term and definition because we never locked him down.
If I hold the gun, if I say to you, what is your first name again?
Alex.
If I say to you, Alex, don't you move a muscle, darling, I'm going to blow you. Anyway, the camera shoots me. You want to see the material in the cylinder. The cosmetic, clay-based, non-bullet round.
So can you describe to me what those clay-based rounds look like?
They look like a bullet.
What colors?
They're gray. They look exactly like a bullet. Brass head and a brass base packed with something, I'm assuming. And
that's a horrible question. When you say these blank rounds, are you describing what the armor explained has a dummy round? Does it have a primer? Do you know what a primer is? Yeah, the primer thing. Okay, once I identify you know what a primer is, do the rounds that you're explaining have a primer? Because the camera can't see that. And he would say, no, I still don't know if the dummy rounds have a fake primer or a live or an unlive primer in there. I don't know because nobody's asking freaking questions.
And then the heads look like a bullet. So cosmetically, you see that in the cylinder. The other rounds you shoot have it's the base with the pin.
I kind of like the way he goes, give me your pen and paper. You ain't doing shit over there any damn way. Let me use your shit. What a bunch of idiots. These two clowns. Hopefully I'll remember to put little clown heads on both these idiots.
Comes up, and this comes up, and it's a round like this. And if you look at the top, if you're looking down at the bullet, with the not the pin down here, the top of it, if you look down, it's folded in almost like a
it's like
a dumpling.
Like a pinch.
Exactly, it's like a folded up thing, and the chart and all that just goes boom.
So
there's no projectile there.
If I showed you a couple rounds, would you be able to tell me if they're the ones that look like they were on set?
Why would you ask this question instead of just going and getting the rounds and showing them? I mean, why wouldn't you have pictures? Why wouldn't you have the rounds in there? I mean, this is just basic shit to get a good interview. And these girls just want to talk to him. They don't care about the interview or getting information or locking him down. They're just, having a good time.
Probably, I think I could probably tell you which were the rounds that were put in cosmetic.
Okay.
And which were the rounds that were the flash rounds.
All right.
Now, forgive me because I'm very upset right now.
I know.
But you know what I'm saying, so please don't forgive my weirdness about this. That's what came out of Joel's shoulder.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes. And the reason why I was showing it because you said you have experience, but you're saying when this does come out, it's supposed to just puff and not really be
usually
a hard object.
This woman, again, for like the 5th time, she is such a freaking idiot. He didn't say puff and it goes and that's not supposed to come. That's not what he said at all. She's explaining the puff and nothing comes out. She's explaining a blank round and he's explaining a dummy round with a bullet and they're talking about a real round. And she's so incompetent. I mean, and I think she's a senior person because she's doing the interview.
If there's any chance that when you look at the gun, so here's the barrel, here's the sight, and the cylinders around it, and it has the holes.
Mm-hmm.
We're just looking at the gun, the camera's eye view.
Yeah.
When you look at the cosmetic rounds go in, they have no flash. But if you want to have cosmetic rounds that flash, if you want me to hold the gun, you see the bullets, and I shoot, that material is often a clay or, fabricated material that just disintegrates, just turns to powder.
And
the round that you put that you don't see, you're not seeing down the barrel, you're shooting, those are the flash rounds, which have the top that looks like it's like folded kind of things like this, where it's all comes.
So it almost sounds like there's 3 different rounds. It sounds like there's a round that has a bullet that also makes a flash. But I don't know because these idiots aren't clearing up anything.
It looks like someone's packed it and closed it.
But specifically,
now this girl that left, they're out of questions. They don't know what else to ask. So they're out there now getting advice from the male officers on what else they should ask and what else they need. Because there's cops sitting in a room. In these interview rooms, there's always a room beside the interview rooms where all this is being taped. And after an interview, I go out and I hit the tape and I take the tape out and I label it and I book it into evidence. This is a taped interview of Alec Baldwin, this date, blah, blah, blah. So in that room where it's all taped, there's video screens of each interview room. And while an interview's going on, you can have supervisors, other people sitting in that room and watching it. So and because it's Alec Baldwin, there's probably 8 or 10 people in that fucking room watching this. What's he saying? What's he saying now? How are they doing? Oh man, they're doing a great job. They're wonderful. We should buy them a box of donuts because they're doing great. Whatever.
specifically today was supposed to be either empty or the ones that don't even make anything.
Cold rounds.
So cold round, the one with the hole in it.
Yes.
And it's not supposed to puff up.
She's misstating the evidence and misstating the interview. She just gave him an out and made it to where he can change his story. Instead of asking him, was the gun supposed to be empty with no rounds, or did it supposed to have rounds that didn't flash? She didn't make it clear. And she goes, so technically it could be with the nothing or the other rounds. That's not what he said. He said it was a rehearsal and the gun was supposed to be empty with nothing. And she just changed it and said, so technically it could be empty or it could have dummy. That's not what he said, you freaking dummy. The fucking round is smarter than the interviewers in this freaking interview room.
Or powder off, like you said. Nothing.
Halls told me that when he checked the rounds with her, they were all had the holes in them. And sometimes he told him when I wasn't familiar with this.
Okay, I lost that. Who told him that?
Nothing.
Halls told me.
Whose Halls told me?
That when he checked the rounds with her, they were all had the holes in them.
So this is critical. Who the hell is Halls? And when did he come into the scene? This is the first time I heard this guy's name. And all of a sudden, now he's saying he checked the rounds. Is that normal? Does he always check the rounds? Why did he check the rounds this time? When did he tell you that he checked the rounds? Before or after the shooting? And why was this conversation happening? What prompted this These guys aren't asking anything. They're freaking idiots.
And sometimes he told him when I wasn't familiar with this, they'll take the round, and if it's a cold round, it'll have the holes, and inside will be BBs, and you shake it.
Yeah.
When you shake the BB, it's an acoustic thing to tell you that's a cold round.
Okay, and yeah, that's what.
Inside this base is stuff that rattles, little BBs that rattle. So you take it, you go, that's a cold round, that goes in the gun.
Okay, and that's what you were supposed to have today.
I was supposed to have an empty gun.
Again, was he supposed to have those or an empty? He has to clarify for her. He's doing a better job at this interview than these two idiots.
Or when we shot, for the rehearsal, empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we shot, the flash rounds and everybody preps. And then she says, hot gun. She announces it, and the crew gets ready.
But you didn't even get to that part.
I rehearsed with a hot gun. Now.
But you were supposed to be cold.
Well, it was supposed to be cold or empty, but now.
Which one was it? Is it supposed to be cold or empty? Because he's saying empty is different than cold. Cold is loaded with blanks. Empty is empty. And now he just said it's supposed. Which one is it? He's changed this several times, and these idiots are changing it, and nobody knows. And I still don't know.
Not only did I rehearse with a hot gun, I rehearsed with a gun that had a bullet inside. If that's what came out of this show, this is the most horrifying thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, so yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you, anytime that you've shot a hot gun, you've never seen anything like this come out before.
Never.
This is such a stupid question. She just wants to talk. This has nothing to do with the interview or gathering information or getting him locked down in a story. There's so many other questions that are pertinent. And she's going back because the other girl left, so she doesn't know what to do, but I just want to talk to him, so I'll keep talking about stupid shit. Why don't you go back to what his freaking lunch was on a plane?
Because I'm not familiar with prop guns. I could tell you what a projectile looks like, and that does look like a projectile.
That's a bullet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what comes out of...
Well, I think the question, I mean, I don't want to tell you your job, but I'm so sick about this, so sickened by this, that a bullet passed through this girl's body. She's in critical condition in a hospital right now, and I fired the gun.
Oh, so he doesn't know she's dead. I thought she died on scene and he knew. I thought when he was on the phone telling everybody he just killed somebody, I thought he knew she did. He doesn't know she's dead yet. That changes a little bit, because I was kind of saying he was kind of cold earlier. He just killed somebody. He doesn't know she's dead yet. So that changes a little bit.
And if you don't think I feel really, really shitty about that, I do, but the question becomes, to ask Hannah, did you commingle live bullets?
And you know what? They never asked that. He's got better questions than the two idiots doing this interview. They never ask her that. Maybe they did, and I didn't do it, but I can't remember. I mean, there's so much shit that they didn't ask.
What they call live rounds. When they say live round, that's a bullet.
I think they did at one point in the interview say never, or live rounds allowed, never, no. I think she did say no.
That a police officer would shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from in her kit?
Yeah.
She commingled live rounds with dummy rounds or movie rounds.
And we asked her. that.
So now we know. Remember I said I don't know if they talked to her before or after? This is after her. So all the questions and all the people that were saying, Rick, you're being too hard on these women. Maybe they didn't even interview the armor before, and that's why they're being so stupid. Now we know. They know everything that I knew because they interviewed her before, and that makes them even more stupid. And the people that were defending them, you're stupid too. Rick, you can't call your audience stupid because shut up, you freaking crybabies.
Do you know where you guys get the rounds from? Who orders it? Or you don't have any part of any of that?
Who, me?
Yeah, like
that's her, yeah.
All familiar, okay.
All I know is when we come to the set, you hand me a cold gun, nothing's in reverse. Then we load the gun with the flash rounds and we shoot. That's it, every time. We've never had a problem.
You didn't even get to that second part of you'll hand it back. I do want to ask you about Dave Halls. I understand sometimes she'll hand the gun off to Dave Halls and then he'll hand it to you. Did that happen at this incident?
No. I don't recall him ever doing it.
It was Hannah handing
I never recall. I recall that when we would stop the scene.
This is kind of a big disparity in this case, because it sounds like when this was going on and the news was breaking that Dave brought the gun to Hannah. And I think Hannah, the armor, said that Dave gave her the gun. So I think Dave was handling gun. He's saying it never happened. Now, he could just be not remembering. Is that real critical? Not really. I'd like to know how much Dave handled it. Where was he keeping it when he handled it? Why was he handling it instead of Hannah? How long did he have it? Did he leave the scene and bring it to her? Did he call her in when he wanted to give it to her? Did he stick it in his pocket? How was he carrying and holding the gun? Those would be nice things to know. We'll see if they're asked. Raise your hand if you think those are going to be answered. You're probably an idiot.
If we finish the scene, Halls...
Well, they may be answered if he volunteers it. They aren't going to be answered because these guys do a good interview.
Is someone who is assumed by his position to be authorized to do nearly everything. Mm-hmm. So if I was doing a scene with you and we finished the scene, or we finished your angle and we were going to turn around and shoot my angle, when they...
He likes to go back with what he's comfortable with, which is, I'm saying that's good or bad. He's a talker, so he's a great dude to interview. I mean, it'd be so easy to get so much information out of him if they were asking questions. So he likes to go back and explain how the movie is and go back to things that he's comfortable with. Well, that's good for me as an interviewer because it's giving me an idea, but it's only good if I take notes and if I use that information in order to get more information. If I'm just letting him tell stories to listen and swing in my chair, it's a waste of freaking time. I don't need to hear this bullshit. I don't care about all that. If it doesn't help me, I don't need to hear it. But
say turning around, that means it's time to go to the bathroom, go get a bottle of water, go get a coffee, go smoke a cigarette. We have a break. Okay. And if I was going to go to the bathroom, I'd hand Halls the gun to give to her. I would only hand it to her, or if she wasn't around, if she was awake.
Took her a long time to find 2 blank rounds, huh? How long did she go? Probably stopped, had a donut, sat around, bullshitted with the girls, stopped. I was in there with Alex, and he was so cute, and I was shaking my leg and flipping my hair, and he was looking at me, and he was talking to me, and it was just so fun.
She should be in the shop. They clearly hand Halls the gun. They give it to her. Give this to Hannah.
So sometimes you would hand the gun to Hall, but you never, he never handed the gun to you.
No.
Okay.
No, never.
So you would hand it to him?
I'd pass it off to him if she was not on site, and I was going to run to use the bathroom, I was going to buy it. But that's very typical. Halls is empowered and authorized to hand him the weapon. He's the only other person to hand the weapon after we were done. Whether it was a cold gun with no things or flash rounds, I'd say hot gun, hand it to him. Well, usually not.
Who knows, without a doubt, the difference between a cold and a hot gun? I don't know if a gun with blanks is cold or hot. I don't know if an empty gun is different than a hot gun or a cold gun. I still don't know, because I got 2 idiots in here that can't fucking lock down a freaking statement.
Because you're saying it was a hot gun. If it was a hot gun we were going to shoot, she'd be right nearby. Okay. If I hit it, because other times...
I'm pretty sure a hot gun means with blanks that are going to go pow and loud. I'm pretty sure on that, but...
We have rubber guns. We have fake guns. Yeah.
And specifically, sorry.
Oh, did he just bring up rubber and fake guns? Because that's the first time that's came up. Were there fake guns used with real guns in this scene? Were there fake guns on the cart? Because this is the first time I've heard of a fake gun. And he just brought it up, and these 2 idiots didn't even ask a question. Shocking.
Right before this incident, Hannah handed you the gun and said, cold. It wasn't David.
I don't be cold. No, Hannah handed me the gun.
Okay, it wasn't anybody else but Hannah.
No, Hannah handed me the gun.
And she specifically said.
I don't remember if they asked Hannah that question. See, if they had asked her that question, Hannah, did you hand him the gun and say cold? I don't remember that in the interview. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that. I think I would remember that. Because they don't lock anybody down. They're too busy flipping their hair and spinning in their chair.
I believe she said cold. I don't recall it.
So this is I'm not that great of a drawer, but this is the church. This is the front where
you enter here. Yeah.
Cross is. Where did she hand the gun to you? Inside while you were
yes, because I was seated.
You were.
In other words, I was.
See, he's smart enough to go to a clean page to do a drawing.
This is a scene in the church where you come in and there's a lot of disarray. There's benches tipped over, and here was one bench that was upright and sturdy. Some of the other benches are prop benches, so they can smash easily with explosives. You want the gunfire to have fake benches. They're made of a lighter wood, so they put charges inside. So when you shoot, cinematically, when a guy's shooting a gun and you turn around and see what he's shooting at, you're going to see charges that are buried inside. They put a little material behind. You're going to see boom, boom, boom. It seems flash. That is a prop bench. There were prop benches around that they were eventually going to put. Today, we're going to put squibs in to have them blow up. And this was a real bench, a heavy. Because if you sat on the prop bench, it would break. Mm-hmm. This was a live bench, and I sat here. And the camera was here, and she was here, and Joel was here.
She being Halyna?
Halyna.
Okay, and...
I'm here, on the bench, sitting. I'm right here to the right. I'm all the way to one side. They wanted me to go all the way to that side. And the camera guy was here. He's behind. Hannah was here. Joel was here. Where the other people, I believe that the script woman is always in that corner, so she can see the actual. And when I shot the gun away from the cameraman, I never aimed again at the camera. I turned and I went like this to aim the camera, and she was there, and the gun went off, and she just went right on the ground.
Again, I did this, I did that, and the gun went off. Nowhere have they said, when the gun went off, was your finger on the trigger or off the trigger? When the gun went off, did you cock the hammer back and hear a click and then it went off? Or did you start to cock it back and it went off? We still don't know, because we got two freaking idiots doing an interview.
What about the armorer, though? Or was she?
She's outside.
Okay.
She hands
She
you
comes
the gun,
in. She hands me the gun all the time.
and then what?
If there's any shooting involved in the scene, she always hands me the gun.
Never has Dave handed you the gun?
Never.
Okay.
Now, see, she just said Dave never handed you the gun. That's not true. He just said when they're shooting, she hands it. There was no shooting in this. So did Dave or could have Dave handed this? Again, we don't know. I got more questions than I got answers out of these two idiots.
And then she goes back outside.
She waits outside because she just can't be there, so they didn't want to see. Sometimes in the scene there's reflections.
See how this inexperienced thing keeps telling him what happened? And then she goes back outside. Instead of saying, what does she do next? And let him say, she goes back outside. I don't want to interview and tell the person the answers and have them agree unless, you know, on a stand they would call out a hostile witness. If an attorney identifies you as a hostile witness, then I just ask questions that you can answer yes or no. But normally, you want the person to answer the question and explain why they believe or explain what they're saying and what their statement is. You don't want to tell them their statement.
Like, you know, you see.
Oh, shit, I'm at 31 minutes. All right, I guess I'll have to make a part 4 on this one.